Aloha, namaste, sitaram, assalamu alaikum, shalom, blessings to each and every one of you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. I want to welcome each and every one of you across the world. It's such a pleasure to be with you again on the Divine Soul Journey. Divine, because we all connect with the divine. Whoever divine is to you. Our souls are on a journey. We have one soul from the beginning of a thought, who you are. And we're all on that journey together. Where we will one day go home and reach enlightenment, as we say. As a disclaimer, I just want to say this is not about religion. It's not about Taoism or anything to that effect. We believe and respect your wishes, your beliefs, and your faith. Yes, we do practices. It's very powerful practices. And if you're open to it, then awesome. If not, it's okay. When you catch us on the replay, certainly you can be open and say, yes, I am open. If you'd like to get a hold of us, you can contact us at dsg2020@gmail.com. Sorry, let me repeat that. dsgshow2020@gmail.com. My apologies. But right now, I want to say I am so excited for this gentleman I'm going to bring on the line right now. He is the co-director, I should say, of the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation. And you're hearing and listening to the Love, Peace, and Harmony song. And he'll talk about this. And he'll talk about how he was led to this. Sometimes it's a very simple story, and sometimes it's dramatic, and sometimes we just don't know why we're being led to it. I know it happened for me. It took me 6 years to get back when I was first approved for this. And I will let our lovely master teacher, Mr. Shunya Barton, to introduce himself and let us hear his story, his powerful story, and give us some more insight why this song you're listening to is so super powerful. So I'd like to say welcome, Shunya, to the Divine Soul Journey.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Well, we always like to hear who is Shunya and where did you come from, Shunya?
Well, I grew up in California, and I originally I got a degree in musical theater. I was a dancer, and I also was right in the middle of the AIDS epidemic when I was in college here in San Francisco. And so I was in the middle of that and gave many years of my life serving in the AIDS community and in other nonprofits and doing nonprofit management work for about 3 decades. And now I'm one of the co-directors of the Love, Peace, Harmony Foundation.
Lovely. You sound so young. You look so young to think about 30 years in that industry. Although maybe it's all that dancing you do, because I have seen you dance in the Toronto Center in the Twinkle Toes, and I'm just picturing you as a ballerina. I know you're more contemporary, but little ballerina and so forth. And it was a pleasure to see you at that time. That's the first time I was open to soul. I was introduced to soul dance, more or less. I heard of it, but I actually saw it when we had a practice there session. So thank you for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. There's so much joy in doing the soul dance. It's so amazing.
Let's talk a little bit about that then. For people who don't, why don't you describe what soul dancing is? We're just going to go with the flow here. That's what we do here on the Divine Soul Journey. Explain to people how soul dancing is also modality, and it's like dancing, but you're dancing from the soul, and how therapeutic it is, because anyone can do this. No matter what type of music you're listening to, but you can do this, correct?
Absolutely. Everyone and everything has a dance within them. And the dance is connected to our true, authentic heart and soul. The deepest part of us, the highest part of us, the part of us that's connected to everyone and everything, that exists in oneness with all other souls. And when we bring a dance from that place, we bring the highest frequency and vibration, and it actually can help to transform everything on the level of soul, heart, mind, energy, and matter, because we're carrying our original soul vibration.
Absolutely. And, I'm from Trinidad, as you know. I know you've been to Trinidad, so you understand what a Trini is and what a Trini dance is. And sometimes it could be a little bit on the crazy side. However, it's just flowing with the music. We have the carnival there, and we just go with the flow of the music. And you just have to close your eyes and let the music lead you. That's basically what it is in a nutshell. Just choose the music you want to listen to when you're doing that. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a little bit more practice that can bring it out even further.
Of course.
And I'm sure some people who are dancing at Carnival, they're dancing their soul dance, absolutely, without even knowing it. But there's a way of aligning, so you make sure you're aligned and connected with your higher self. There's many parts of ourselves we can dance with. And, if we're out on the single scene at Carnival, we might be dancing with a different part of ourselves.
I really wasn't. When I said Carnival, I was talking about the craziness that we do, but I wasn't talking about the jump up and whine. But I meant in terms of the music, when we sit back and, be a little bit more conservative with the music as opposed to in the Carnival, and you're at home and you hear the music and you just close the eyes, because I will tell you, soca, calypso music, there's a heart and soul to that music. If you really truly understand what calypso and soca is about. Soca is more the dance party. Calypso is more traditional. But you just listen to your eyes and the music and you start to dance. I'm not talking about the wild, crazy carnival. It's lost the essence, to tell you the truth. But I'm just telling you how crazy we are in Trinidad. It's what it is. And across the world now. So yes, it's from the core.
One of my first dance teachers in college was from Trinidad.
Oh my God!
And I absolutely agree with you. There's power and presence in the music.
There is,
and it just brings out the joy and the aliveness. It's wonderful.
Right. Even the drums. When we have the drums, we hear the drums a lot in what you call the Best Village and so forth. The drum has a lot of, spiritual connection with us as well.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about who is Shunya and how did Shunya, in that sense, end up coming and connecting. And I know you have a very cute name for master teacher. How did you end up being the co-director for the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation?
So the founder of the Love, Peace, Harmony Foundation is Dr. and Master Jigong Shah. And he's a world-renowned healer. He's written, I think, about 30 books at this point. A bunch of them are New York Times bestsellers. But he's trained as a Western medicine doctor. He was trained as a Qigong master. He brings all this different healing wisdom. And as I mentioned, I was in the middle of the AIDS epidemic when it first started here in America. I was one of the first people to be diagnosed with HIV in America. Before they had a word for it, before they had a test for it, it was 3 days before my 21st birthday, or 23rd birthday. And I had gotten sick, and they gave me antibiotics, did everything they could to treat it, but it wouldn't go away. And so they sent me to a specialist, and he ran a bunch of tests. And he came back, and he said, I have good news and bad news. The bad news is you seem to have what the guys are dying from here and in New York. And the good news is the guys here in San Francisco aren't dying as fast. And that was my diagnosis. So I really had to look seriously at what life was about and what healing was about from a very young age. And I fortunately had already been exposed to meditation and alternative complementary healing. And I remember walking by a spiritual bookstore and thinking, okay, well, this is it then. This is where the rubber hits the road. And either these things are going to work or they're not. And either I'm going to survive this or I'm not. And all I can do is try and see what happens. So I started applying spiritual wisdom to healing from the time I was 23 years old, and worked in the AIDS epidemic, served in a number of different nonprofits, working with the AIDS community and helping people going through the death and dying process while trying to stay alive myself. And almost didn't make it. I got very sick in 1996. But with the help of Western medicine and spiritual practices, made it through pneumonia. And then when there was medication that worked, was able to normalize my life and make it more of a chronic manageable condition. And then I started doing healing work and energy work after things got back to normal in the HIV community, thanks to the medication. I took a year off and I went and got a massage license, and I was living in Hawaii at the time, and I worked in different spas in Hawaii doing massage and energy work.
Okay, so Shunya,
and just helping people be happy and healthy and chilling.
Thank you. So I just want to ask you a question, and I appreciate your honesty about this, and I applaud you because you're an amazing person. You're always smiling, happy, and willing to share. So we're so thrilled you're here with us. I mean, physically, you're not even on the show, but I mean, just being part of our organization. I applaud you for that as well. You know, when they said the student is ready, the master will appear. But I want to ask you a question, just for a lot of people who may have some questions or doubts in their mind, is the fact, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a time where they believed that when you have HIV or the AIDS, there was no cure. It's always with you, that it's not a gene, I'm not sure what you want to call it, but say I don't know too much about it. Is it always with you still? It's just probably dormant?
Yeah, that's still true.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have HIV. I take a pill every night.
Mm-hmm.
And I also do meditation and spiritual practices to maintain my wellness and to live with the complications of living with HIV.
Thank you. And the reason I'm saying that, for a lot of people, there's always hope. There's always hope. Never give up as well. How did people... Yeah, absolutely. How did people react to you now becoming a massage? Because you probably, of course, have to have a disclaimer and disclosure that you do have the HIV. Did people react differently to you, or did you have some people who were opposing to it? Did you go through that period? Only because I know there's a lot of few people, and I know people who've had it, or any type of illness that's, is still with you. And some people, they didn't know what they don't know. Of course, over the years, things have changed in terms of education, but some people are still undereducated. Did you get any of that backlash, or the negative feedback or glances and so forth when you were doing this work?
No, by the time that I had gone into massage work in Hawaii, the people in Hawaii were educated enough to understand that you don't get HIV from getting a massage.
Lovely.
That you have to share needles, have sex.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't get transmitted that way. So there was no risk to any of the clients.
Thank you.
And I know not everybody even still knows that around the world. But fortunately, there's people all around the world trying to do good education and clear up some of the misunderstanding.
Absolutely. So thank you for sharing that. And this is a lesson learned for each and every one of us. I appreciate that. How did you end up with your teacher?
Well, one of the places that I was doing massage and energy work was a collective of alternative practitioners. And somebody brought in a flyer for a guy who did Chinese medicine. And they're like, you have to go to this. This guy's really great. And I was like, well, who is he? What does he do? And they're like, he's great. He's great. You just have to go. And they were very vague about what was going on. But I had the flyer, and I told my partner about it because he had been feeling really fatigued, burnout at work, just really not, going through a rough time. And so the flyer popped up on my computer, and I mentioned, hey, there's this Chinese medicine guy. Remember I told you about it, and he's coming tonight. And I thought, that's it. I've done my duty. I've told him about it. We're not going anywhere. And I'm going through the rest of my emails. And next thing I look up, and he's standing in the door going, okay, let's go. I was like, wow, okay.
That's a sign.
Sparked.
That's a sign.
Yeah. So we went. And I saw Dr. Shah doing energy healing on a woman, a very heavy-set woman who had no cartilage in her knees, who could barely walk with a cane. He did about 30 minutes of energy healing on her. And after 30 minutes, she had put her cane aside and was walking up and down the aisles of the church. And whenever he asked her, how are you? She was just sobbing. And it was so clearly like a life-transforming experience for her. I just thought, wow, I think I'm a pretty good massage therapist, but I can't do that. And I thought, I really need to study with this guy. And I want to learn how to do healing miracles.
Absolutely, because here's one thing, and again, correct me whenever I'm wrong, is the fact that being a massage therapist, and you said being a really good one at it, you will totally understand what that means if someone has no cartilage as well and can't walk, and the excruciating pain that they have. I mean, we have it just walking with arthritis and so forth, but you could understand what that meant. So if it's one person, it's you who truly understand what that meant.
Absolutely. Just imagine bone grinding on bone.
Mm-hmm. That's knee replacement. That's when most people get a knee replacement at that point in time. I have a friend who just recently was bone on bone. A couple of people I know actually, it's bone on bone. And yes, it's it's like earthquake. Things are shifting.
And you could see it in her walk. She had a cane, but man, you could see the pain in her walk. Yeah.
So what went through your mind? And what went through your mind then? You want to work with him. So what happened?
So I started doing, I went to his workshop. He had a workshop happening that weekend. And the first thing that he offered was what we now call Tao hands. And I received this spiritual blessing to use my hands, which I already used with Reiki and energy work. But this was yet another level. And my clients were just like, I don't know what you're doing with that guy, but whatever you're doing, keep going back there. Because they could feel the difference through my hands.
Mm-hmm.
They could feel the power of it. So that was the beginning. And then I went through their first level of healer training. And I was telling this story of how I met him. It was kind of all of us who had just completed the training, and there were about 300 people in the audience. And I told this story, and he said, okay, well, you said you wanted to do healing miracles. Go ahead, give a blessing to everyone. It's like a little nervous.
I know. I can imagine.
I'll just do what I've been taught.
Mm-hmm.
And so I gave a blessing to everyone. And there was a woman in the audience who was a friend of mine. And after the blessing, he asked everybody, what did you experience? And this woman who's a friend of mine raised her hand and she said, I have had migraines for a decade. And I was just about to get up and take a pill because I felt a migraine coming on. And now the migraine's gone. She said, I think you've just done your first healing miracle. Now, she used to take migraine pain medicine almost every day. And since that time, she says, only rarely do I ever have to take pain medication.
Beautiful.
Something happened that day.
Beautiful. How did your partner react to this whole process?
He just was like, we're in the right place. This is the right thing for me. And he's now one of the leaders of the center here in San Francisco.
Yes, I know. Mm-hmm. Now, and one thing I do know, and we'll, for those who are just joining us on Divine Soul Journey, we're here with Shunya Barton. He is the co-director for the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation. The music that you're hearing in the background, we'll talk a little bit about it in a moment, why we need to spread that. We also do our forgiveness practice and blessing as well. So we don't want to leave anything out. He's going to be back on the show. So we will maybe leave that show for us to talk about more about the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation more in detail and what the music means, because we want to get his story. We want to hear more. We want to get that amazing blessings from him. So thank you, Shunya. So in terms of, I know it's not an easy journey when you are a healer. Sometimes would believe, and for myself, some things are incredible. I was always good with my hands. I just didn't know some of the things I did. I would just go to people and just take the energy out of their body, and I didn't even know what I was doing. I just know I was doing it, and they were amazed. And on this path of healing, sometimes it's a really lonely road, because most people don't understand, families don't understand, but luckily you had your partner who was there to walk that journey with you, which made it a lot easier. Now you all are working together in that sense. That has been a tremendous relief for you, has it not? For anyone for that matter. Just for people to understand, finding this passion and this talent and this gift is not an easy one.
No, and it's really important to surround ourselves with like-minded people, because it's really easy to, it is sometimes hard to stay in that positive frequency and vibration. And if we're around negative people, judgmental people, critical people, that can pull the energy down. So it's such a blessing when I find people who are supportive, positive. Even my friends who, if this isn't the right path for them, they're still like, I see the good this does for you. I see how it's changed your life. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. It really isn't in terms of that. There are times when you feel that you're human, obviously, but there are times when you feel or felt, or maybe sometimes you still do, and it's about a positive attitude, that you just wanted to give up, because you're constantly being tested, and you're purifying. It's not I just want people to understand, and maybe you can explain this to them a bit more detail coming from you, whereby when people move up the ladder, I always give that analogy. You move up the ladder, you climb up there. People are always looking to bring you down, but that's a spiritual testing to see how strong you are. And don't believe that you'll ever reach to the top, because there's always something more, and there's always something more, and there's always something more. You want to just briefly explain what that means or how you feel? There are times when I'm sure that it's like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this spiritual testing.
Sure. So how I understand things is that we're all 7.5 billion or however many there are of us, we're all going up the same mountain. We're all heading towards our own true self, our spiritual self, enlightenment, awakening, self-realization, whatever you want to call it, from whatever tradition. And as we go up that mountain, there's parts of the path that are really hard to go up. And you can't get to the top of the mountain without climbing up that part of the path. Now, that looks different for everyone, because what each of us needs to transform in our life is different. Some people, it'll show up in their finances. Some people, it'll show up in their relationship. Some people, it'll show up in not feeling good enough, having self-worth issues. There's repeated patterns that come up in our life over and over again. And that's how we know it's one of those purification or transformation opportunities, is that it feels like we're running up against the same brick wall. Even though we've changed, we may change our thinking, we may change our diet, we may change our exercise, but we just, hit the same brick wall. And that's when we're really being called to bring out the absolute best in ourselves and connect with something higher than ourselves. This isn't a job we do on our own. If we're not connected to the source, if we're not connected to the universal power and presence, we can't get through that. But when we do, we can transform whatever is in our thoughts, whatever's in our heart. For me, it was physical with AIDS. We can get through what we have to get through to get to the other side and keep going up the mountain. So I believe that everything that comes to us in our life is a gift. And when I look at it that way, I can say, okay, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And when I approach life that way, I'm more self-empowered, I'm more content, I'm happier, and I'm more able to transform anything that isn't working in my life to something that is working.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
One of the things, it was such a huge light or realization for me, is when I recognized and I embraced the good, the bad, and the ugly in my life, regardless of what we've been through. And I always say now that, Dianne, you have to go through the long, winding road. It is a short way for me, because somehow when I and many out there are there for others, and this way we can walk the walk and talk the talk. So when we embrace the good, the bad, and the ugly, and so, okay, I know people may not want to understand why they went through abuse, why AIDS, why this, why the accident, why cancer, and so forth. But this is the only way you can tell a story, be authentic, is if you walk through this, if this is what your destiny holds for you. And the deepest pain also creates the biggest lessons. Some people may not understand that, but it takes some time. So I applaud everyone who's going through this, or anything that they're going through their life. If anything resonates with you right now, just stop and think for a moment. And this would be a perfect moment, Shunya, while we do a forgiveness practice, and then we'll do a blessing, and then we'll chat a little bit more. And again, for people to understand, and those who are going through something right now, this is the perfect timing. So, would you please honor us with a forgiveness practice, and then we can do a blessing?
Sure, I'd be delighted.
Thank you.
So let's sit up straight as we're able, with our back away from the chair as we can, and our feet flat on the floor. And if you would, try putting one hand on your abdomen and one hand on your heart chakra, right in the center of your chest. This does two things. It grounds us and it opens our heart more. And just breathe into that lower hand and begin to visualize golden light there. Now, it's okay if you don't see it, but imagine and be aware of golden light in your lower abdomen, grounding and centering. And we want to ask forgiveness for mistakes that we've made that have hurt others, and give forgiveness to others the same way that we would hope that they would give forgiveness to us. I don't think I've worked with anyone who doesn't think that they've ever done anything or said anything or thought anything that's hurt someone else. It's part of being a human being. And so by doing forgiveness practice, we separate the negative quantum entanglement between us and the ones that we've hurt, and between us and the ones who have hurt us. So to the best of your ability, join with me as we unconditionally ask for forgiveness and unconditionally offer forgiveness. And if we can't quite get there, it's okay. We ask for the universe to bring the highest frequency of forgiveness to help us. So bring to mind, bring into your awareness one or more people that it would be good to have forgiveness with. Either you've hurt them or they've hurt you. And then follow along with me. Dear soul, mind, and body of the source of everything, we love you, honor you, appreciate you. Dear all kinds of beings of light, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Lamas, Gurus, angels, archangels, saints, prophets, whoever you believe in. We ask all beings of light to bless this practice and bring higher frequency of love, forgiveness, compassion, and light. Dear soul, mind, and body of all souls who we have hurt or harmed, and all souls our ancestors have hurt or harmed, in this lifetime, or if there's other lifetimes, in any lifetime. Everyone that we have hurt through our thoughts, our words, our actions. We love you, honor you, appreciate you, as we love, honor, and appreciate all souls. And we deeply and sincerely apologize for everything we have said, everything we have thought, everything we have done that has caused you or your loved ones or your ancestors any kind of pain, any kind of suffering. We are sincerely sorry, and we humbly ask for your forgiveness. We know that asking for forgiveness alone is not enough. So we will commit in our life to creating positive energy, to serving others, to being happier and healthier. To be the kind of person who can be forgiven. We wish for you only happiness, only good. May you live in love, peace, and harmony, now and forevermore. We humbly ask you to please forgive us. Thank you. And dear soul, mind, and body of all the souls who have hurt or harmed us or hurt or harmed our ancestors, we love you, honor you, and appreciate you as we love, honor, and appreciate all souls. And we forgive you completely, just like we would like to be forgiven completely. We release you from any kinds of debts to us. We set you free, and in doing so, we set ourselves free. We release all negative quantum entanglements with you. We wish you only happiness and good. May you experience love, peace, and harmony wherever you go. I forgive you. You forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. I forgive you. You forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. I forgive you. You forgive me. Bring love, peace, and harmony. We see all those souls filled with golden light going back where they came from. So we say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Gong song, gong song, gong song. Which means respectfully return.
Thank you. That's lovely. Shunya, would you please explain to our wonderful audience the importance of forgiveness?
Yeah, so whenever we hurt or harm someone else, or they hurt or harm us, doesn't matter which direction, as long as we hold on to that, we have a negative quantum entanglement with that other person or place or thing. And our energies are tangled up in a negative way. We're stuck with that. When we forgive, forgiveness doesn't mean that what somebody else did was okay. Like, the example I always give is, if I tell my roommates, I had lots of roommates in my life, if I told them I was going to take out the trash, and I didn't take out the trash, that's not okay. I said I was going to do it. I didn't do it. And if they get upset with me, then that's understandable, because I didn't live up to my agreement. Maybe I had a good reason. Maybe I was just being flaky. But if they continue, now it's how many decades later, if they're still pissed off because I didn't take out the trash, then they're carrying that, and carrying on a soul level, we've still got this negative entanglement. Now that's a silly example, right? Nobody usually carries that kind of emotion over not taking out the trash for the rest of their life. But we make bigger mistakes. We do things that hurt people more deeply. And other people do things that hurt us more deeply. It doesn't mean it was okay what happened, but forgiveness means I'm willing to let it go, to let go of all the negative energy, the negative emotions, the negative mindsets, attitudes, and beliefs attached to it. And when we let go of that, we release a huge burden. When others can let go of that who are angry with us, they can let go of a huge burden. And they keep us from being tied down with them. So that's how I understand forgiveness, and that's how it's helped me release energy that I needed to heal my body. Because all the energy that's stuck in those relationships is energy that's being drained away. And if we have chronic life-threatening conditions, we need that energy for our own healing.
Thank you. One of the things where I always mention from time to time in all the shows we do, because it's something that's on everybody's mind, is financial karma, which again, as we're talking about forgiveness, has to do with us, has to do with our ancestors. So since I have you here, let's talk about, I just want to ease everybody's mind and let them understand that they're not broken to be fixed, and these are things can be addressed. They just have to find out and, connect with us if you would like to know, connect with Shunya if you'd like to know, find out more, do your homework about all of this, because we sit there and this is how people get cancer or any kind of illness, disease, anger, worry, fear, depression, and all these things all linked up and lead to health issues. So I want people, and I will continue always to talk about, financial and karma and so forth. For those, maybe one day you could hear this 100 times, and there's that one day when you will realize, oh, okay, I get it now. So can you briefly tell us the connection there as well, since we're talking about forgiveness?
Absolutely. Everything that happens, as I experience it, as I've been taught, as I understand things, it happens first at the finest frequency, which is the level of our souls. Then it comes down into the level of our hearts, then into the level of our minds, then into the level of our energy, into the level of our body. And one of the teachings that I've studied and taught talks about money, relationships, our things are the body of our consciousness. So what we see reflected in our physical world is a manifestation of what's happening inside of us. So the physical, the karma around finances can be transformed. And I'll tell you my own story. I went to a seminar decades ago, and the facilitator was talking about, he said, I know people that misplace $1,000. And I was like, no, that doesn't happen. I mean, for me, $100 was a big deal at that time.
Absolutely.
And I was like, there's no way somebody misplaces $1,000. So in the meantime, over this time, I practiced all kinds of things to clear my financial karma, to transform my mindsets, attitudes, and beliefs, and did the inner work to have better finances. So I was telling this story about 4 or 5 years ago, and I realized I had an experience that year where my dad had given each of his sons $1,000. He did well in the stock market that year. For Christmas, he gave each of us $1,000 to just go use for whatever. The rule was we had to use it for fun. So I put it in a drawer, and I had completely forgotten about it and didn't even remember where it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have literally become somebody who misplaces $1,000. That was the universe showing me that I had transformed so much when it came to my finances. Does that make sense?
Well, the funnier part of that story is, the exact amount. He declared it, he said it, you didn't believe it, and you manifested it. The exact amount. What are the odds of that happening?
Doesn't happen.
Well, what did you do?
I was like, oh my God, I am that person.
What did you do with $1,000, if you remember?
We used it any time that we wanted to go out to dinner or take a weekend trip to just get away for a hotel overnight. It was our spending money, and we didn't have to worry about, can we afford to do this or not?
Well, that was the fun part of it. And it just sometimes, and I understand why you say just do it for fun, because, it's just because sometimes you need a break and stress, to be relieve the stress, some downtime. And it's just to be, that's what your dad wanted for you, to have fun with it.
Exactly. He didn't want us to just take the $1,000 and pay off bills.
No. When you pay off bills, sometimes more bills come up. But if you have money to just not worry about building on the bills, absolutely. But, that's like, the olden days with my parents and so forth, where my mom used to do this. I'm not kidding you. My dad was a business owner, and my mom had like a standard 6 education. So whatever that is here, I don't even know what it is in the States. But basically it means she was like 12, 13 years old. Whatever the equivalent is, it always confuses me. But anyway, and she would always have money in the closet, and we call it a cupboard in Trinidad. And you would just put your hands in. Sometimes in some places they have mice, rat. It's there for years, right? You don't know what's in there. Sometimes money just disintegrate or whatever it is. And then you could just put your hand in, just pull out, you'll find money coming from everywhere. But here's the moral of the story. True story. Here's the moral of the story. Anything that happened, my dad, difficult times and so forth, she was the one that just ended up, she would put money aside because she grew up in that environment where she had to stop school and take care of her 7 siblings and so forth. And my grandmother is a sell in the market, so she understands to save a penny. But she's the one that ended up saving more money than anybody else. So the point of that is, you can stick something somewhere and forget it, but eventually it will show up somewhere at some point in time. So never dismiss, what can happen and the way it can appear when you least expect it. It's like, but however, when you do find it, be thankful and grateful, because this is really what it's all about. It's about gratitude and being thankful for everything that we do, because everything that we do was given to us is symbolic for something else. Most of us just take it for granted and don't be mindful of how it appeared or why we ended up, doing what we did, went where we went to, and who is in our lives. We take things for granted. I mean, it's happened to me. It's happened to everyone. And we really have to appreciate the moment. And I know that's something that has been part of your life. And, please do join us for the part 2, when we will be talking more about the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation and some of the amazing things that you all are doing there coming up. So definitely. So Shunya, why don't you just tell us whatever it is you want to tell us. We have a few minutes here. So into everything you've gone through. How are you doing right now? Where you are in your life right now, and what's going to happen and what's coming for you, Shunya?
Well, the biggest thing I can say is I'm very grateful to be healthy and happy, to be doing work that I find meaningful and fulfilling, and to know that all of the work that I've put into self-development and transformation has paid off not only for my own happiness and well-being, but that I'm able to help others. And seeing other people benefit is the greatest joy.
And thank you. And you all are doing a lot of work behind the scenes at this foundation that you're part of. It's pretty much your heart and soul is into this 24/7. And like I said, we will be talking about that soon, shortly. But just tell us briefly, in a couple minutes, about that. And before when we go into part 2, we'll talk more and elaborate more about the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation.
Yeah, it's a labor of love. We joke about no Saturday, no Sunday, no holiday. But, really, the people who are remarkable are volunteers all around the world who are just doing so much to transform their own communities and bring so much love and light. Those are the real heroes.
Thank you. And again, for those who are joining us, do catch us on the replay on this, because we are listening to the Love, Peace, and Harmony in the background here, as you can hear it. And what people may or may not realize is that when you do the acts of love, like Shunya and his team and every one of us doing, this is us serving. This is us transforming. One moment, 1 second, 1 day at a time, and one person at a time. We tend to find that we attract people who come into our space. I have people who come into my space, or they, the universe has a very funny sense of humor, I would say. It wants to make you laugh, it wants to make you cry, it wants to make you do lots of things. But what's happening is sometimes we have people who end up on your doorsteps for no apparent reason. But they know that you're there to help them. I know it happened to me recently. And these are people who are beginning to trust. And those who trust will trust. Those who don't trust will not believe in you, and they never did. And there's a post I saw recently saying, if they don't bother with you in the absence, but I think I'm saying it wrong. In the absence, if they don't bother with you, they never really cared about you being in the present. So that means if they didn't appreciate you while you were there, why would they even bother you when you're not there anymore? But there's some of them who will always be there for you and you for them. Not sure why I just said that, Shunya, but anyway, maybe somebody had to hear it. So what would you like to say in our last moment, as fortunately, we have to wrap up this one. Then we'll go on with the second show.
Just sending blessings of love and light to everyone who's listening. Know that what you thought about during this time, if you thought of anything that you'd like to transform in your life, just know that there are people who will support you. There are people who can help you learn how to do that. And it's never too late to transform.
Absolutely. And those are the words of Master Teacher Shunya Barton, co-director of the Love, Peace, and Harmony Foundation, a phenomenal foundation. Very special. And Shunya, I don't know if you know this, but you probably don't remember. There's so much to remember. I am a Love, Peace, and Harmony ambassador, and I was awarded with Portia Ng, who from time to time has been so super busy, and she's doing phenomenal. So she's not with us on the show. She'll come from time to time. Are the super ambassadors for the Love, Peace, and Harmony. I don't know if I should have told you that. Now I feel like there's more pressure on me. So, but anyway. Oh my gosh, Shunya's going to knock on me and say, what did you do today? What did you do today? But one of the things I want to tell you here is that on this show, it's broadcast globally, and we have from thousands of people listening on, and we don't know who it's touched, but I do know it is touching because they're listening. And I want to thank you all for being there for me, being there for our audience, and just you're just a call away, and there's so much happening, and I will continue to do my best And of course, I know you are doing so many things, and we want those who want to find out more to help us, help you, and help others here locally, in your village, in your space, and globally. Shunya, how can they get in touch with you if they want to find out more? They can get in touch with you through us, but what's the best place to go? I'm assuming it's a Love, Peace, and Harmony
our webpage
website.
is www.lovepeaceharmony.org, O-R-G, and our Facebook page is Love, Peace, Harmony Foundation.
That's lovely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I want to say on that note, thank you so much, Shunya, for being with us today and taking time. I know how super busy you are. And more than that, because you're part of two, you're running one organization and you're part of another organization, also on your healing journey and so forth. So I do understand there's a lot on your plate. But when you do what you love and you made a commitment and a vow, it comes effortless. It has its testing and challenges sometimes, but we look at it as a positive. We never look at anything as a negative. Absolutely. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to our audience. I want to say thank you for everyone who's with us always. And on that note, I would like to say aloha, namaste, sitaram, assalamu alaikum, shalom, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night to each and every one of you. Please do join us for part 2 with Shunya, because you're going to learn a lot more about this foundation, this song that you listen to and you hear every single week for the past year. You've been hearing this song and more. So thank you on that note from myself, Dianne, and Shunya. We want to say love you, love you, love you guys. In the words of Master Shah, in a love, peace, and harmony. Blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you.